I'm a lifelong Alaskan. I've lived here all of my memory life. I moved here when I was 2 years old. My father was a pilot and he was a hunter. And there was one time when he and his best friend had gone out on a moose hunt and he was lost for 9 days. So there were 9 days during which we did not know where he was. There's so many technologies now that are available that would have made that whole situation very, very different. My name is Nettie Labelle-Hamer. I'm the director of the Alaska Satellite Facility at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I'm also the deputy director of the Geophysical Institute, also at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. ASF has been a ground station for NASA for over 25 years. So it was a natural progression for us to look at the newer technologies of satellites as they started to really bloom in the remote sensing industry. And Cubesats, which you could argue started out more like a hobby, are actually now a very serious growth part of remote sensing. So this is about the size of the satellite that we're talking about launching. And we launch them in groups. They're put into usually behind the major payload of the rocket. So a rocket goes up, someone is paid for the launch, and it's a large satellite in the front. And then in the back, there's a little thing called a P-pod that houses the CubeSats. And after the major payload has been launched, the P-pod opens and the CubeSats come out. It's new and it's interesting and it's a fascinating technology because just like cell phones, it was something that people didn't think could ever happen, but it really is within our lifetime. Well, so are CubeSats. They're within our lifetime. And the type of technology that they're now putting onto these small little satellites is very impressive. It's cheaper to build because it's smaller, and the sensors push technology limits, but everything is just of reduced size. And the other part of the cost equation is the testing that's done, and CubeSats are so inexpensive and so easy to put into space, and since their orbit decays, we don't have to worry about them being there forever. There's less testing that has to happen in the lab, so that's a little bit cheaper. We can use multiple CubeSats into a single launch, and oftentimes there's a major payload that actually pays for the launch, and the CubeSats are just extra. Part of what this experiment is doing is trying to standardize some of the ground segment support, adapt it for cold climates, etc., so we can actually keep the cost of the ground segment down as well. So almost every step of the way, we've been able to or are working on reducing the cost of supporting CubeSats versus the traditional satellite methodology. It's really looking toward eventually augmenting or replacing the SARSAT, which is the search and rescue satellite system that is really important to the Coast Guard mission. So if we can come up with a cheaper, better, faster way for the Coast Guard to continue the search and rescue support in using satellite resources, then it helps the Coast Guard and it helps anyone who's doing any operations in the Arctic because they kind of have our back. The work that the Coast Guard is doing with these CubeSats would revolutionize the way that we do search and rescue if we can get the number of CubeSats up there that we could afford with these new cheaper technologies. It would make it very different, and there wouldn't have to be the family waiting for 9 days not knowing if they'd ever see their father again.